Me'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach. Okay, so we are on Daf Yomi, Daf Mem Vav, Avodah Zarah, Daf Mem Vav Amud Aleph. We were discussing about how a person has to completely eradicate the name of Avodah Zarah, and we said that that Chachamim used a certain pasuk to teach us that you have to even give it a nickname, meaning you have to give it a derogatory name in order to completely take it out. Okay? Amar lo Rabbi Akiva, so says the Gemara, Amar lo Rabbi Akiva told him, Ve'alo kvar ne'emar abed te'abedun. Doesn't it already say abed te'abedun? You have to completely destroy them. Im ken, ma Talmud lomar. What does the pasuk come and teach us? Ve'ibatem et shema min hamakom. That you have to take off their name from that place. Nechanot lashem. That you have to give it a derogatory nickname. Yachol lishabeach. That maybe means that you have to give it a good name. It says, what do you think that you have to לשבח, you have to give it a good name? אלא יכול לא לשבח ולא לגנאי. How do you know? Maybe it means not to praise and not to give a derogatory name. תלמוד לומר, שקץ תשקצנו ותאב תתאבנו כי חרם הוא. You have to completely be disgusted with it because it's חרם. Haketzad, how is this so? The Gemara explains, Ayu korinota bet galia. If they used to call it bet galia, korinota bet galia. If they originally called it like the house of the hill, you called the house of the ditch. Okay? En kol, if it was called en kol, the eye of everything, you called en kots, the thorn in the eye. Tani Tana Kamed Rav Sheshet, so the Tana Tana in front of Rav Sheshet. Ha'akum. The non-Jews that worship the mountains, Veta Givaot, or the hills, Hen Mutarin, the hills and the mountains are okay, Ve'ovdehem B'saif, and the people that worship them are going to be killed with the saif, with the sword. Veta Zra'im, Veta Yarakot, the plants and the vegetables, if they were worshipped, Hen Asurin, they are Asur, Ve'ovdehem B'saif, and the people that worship them besayf with the sword. Amaleh, so he told them, the Amalach mani. Who taught you this? Rabbi Yossi bar Yudahi. It's Rabbi Yossi bar Yudah that says what? The Amar ilan shinetao, the tree that was planted ulbasof avdor, and then it was afterwards it was worshipped. Asul, it's going to be asul. Says the Gemara, vilukma be'ilan shinetao mitechila b'lekach. How do you know? It was planted originally for a regular purpose and then was worshipped. Maybe the beginning it was planted for this purpose, and then it's going to be asul for everyone. Okay. V'Rabanan lo sar kadaitach dekatani dumya dehar ma har shelo netao mitechila lekach af hainami shelo netao mitechila lekach. Okay, so he says because it's going to be considered like the mountain. The mountain, how is the mountain? The mountain wasn't planted for the Avodah Zarah. The mountain wasn't originally made for Avodah Zarah, right? It was only afterwards turned into Avodah Zarah. So the same thing with the plant. The plant was originally planted for whatever purpose, and then afterwards they used it for Avodah Zarah. Itman, ask the Gemara a question. Avnei har shenidaldelu. If the mountain was worshipped, and then there were stones from the mountain that were worshipped. Okay? Bnei Rabbi Chia, the mountain was worshipped, and then there were stones that came off of this mountain. What's going to be the status of these stones? Bnei Rabbi Chia v'Rabbi Yochanan. The sons of Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yochanan argue. Chad amar asurot, v'chad amar mutarot. One says it's asur, the other one says it's mutar. My ta'ama, the manda amar mutarot. What's the reasoning of the manda amar that says it's going to be mutar? Kihar. It's going to be like a mountain. Mahar she'en bo tefisat didei adam umutar, afhani she'en bahen tefisat bnei adam umutarin. So he says that it's going to be like the mountain. That what? The same way the mountain, you're not able to touch it. The same thing applies to the stone. The stone was also like that, and therefore it's going to be like the mountain. It's going to be asur. Says the Gemara. Wait a minute. There's a difference. Why? Malahar she'ken mechubar. But the mountain, says the Gemara, the mountain is attached to the earth, as opposed to the stone that is no longer attached, right? Says the Gemara, behema tochiach. So the animal is gonna show you that what, that the animal is not attached, and yet the animal itself doesn't become avodah zarah. Ma lebehema sheken ba'alat chaim. Okay, what is it? Says the Gemara, but wait a second. The animal is a Balei Chaim. It has its own will in a way. So it can't be turned directly into Avodah Zarah itself. But what about the mountain? How? The mountain is not something that has a will. Says the Gemara, how yochiach? So the mountain is going to show that even though it doesn't have a will, it's going to be okay. And it's going to keep on revolving around itself. This one is not like this one. This one is not like this one. However, the common denominator between the two is that both of them were not able to be changed by man. And it's going to be a mutar. Of course, the same thing applies to anything that is not changed by man. Umutar, it will be mutar. Says the Gemara. But the common denominator, both of them, the animal and the hill, were never changed from the way they were created. But what about the stone that came off of the mountain that was worshipped? This was changed from the way it was created. Why? Because it originally was part of the mountain, and now it's a stone. So maybe it should be a soul. Says the Gemara. Ela atyami behema balat mum umehar. You learn it from an animal that became blemished and a mountain. Inami, or you can do mi behematama, an unblemished animal, umilan yavesh, and a dried out tree. That what we see that those things, they were originally untouched by man, but then they were changed. Right? The animal was untouched by hand, but then it became a balmum. It became blemished. So that was changed from the way it was originally. Or you say the animal was complete and then it was changed. The animal was complete and the tree dried out. So the tree was a tree originally. It was all green and now it dried out. It changed from originally what it was. And that's going to show you that even if there was a small change, it should be asur.
Makes the animal unavailable. But the stone of things that detach from the mountain, the Avodah Zarah is not anymore an Avodah Zarah. It's like if we destroy something of an Avodah Zarah. Understand? The whole mountain is the Avodah Zarah. Now there is
yeah, but we're saying it's a piece of it. So we're saying maybe this piece still has maybe this piece, since the mountain originally was Avodah Zarah, maybe the piece is now going to get the status of Avodah Zarah. Because we know that you can turn a stone into Avodah Zarah, right? But over here was part of the mountain. It itself wasn't worshipped, but since the mountain was worshipped and now it became detached, that's the question. Is it going to be a asur or not?
One of the reasons we don't know where is Moshe Rabbeinu buried.
Yeah.
How to do Avodah Zarah?
Not that. Okay. So that's the opinion that explains. That's the opinion that's going to show why it's allowed. Now the Gemara is going to explain the opinion that says that if the stone falls off, why it's not allowed. Okay, an opinion that says that if the stone fell off, it's going to be asur. Lehachi ketiv shaketz teshaketzenu v'ta'ev teta'avenu. Okay, afagav de atya medina lehetera lo tetya lo tetya. So even though that technically it should be allowed, comes the pasuk shaketz teshaketzenu v'ta'ev teta'avenu, and it tells you that even though technically it might be allowed, you should make it completely asur because it's going to be disgusting and an abomination for you. So, says the Gemara, Tistayem de Bnei Rabbi Chia Disharu. We're trying to bring a proof that it was Bnei Rabbi Chia, because we said it was a machloket Bnei Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yochanan. So the Gemara is now saying that we're trying to prove that the sons of Rabbi Chia were the ones that says it's asur. Why? Debai Chizkiah, because Chizkiah asked the question. Now, Chizkiah was one of the sons of Rabbi Chia. Okay, so he asked the question: Zakaf betzar ishtachavot la. If a person put an egg upright to bow down to it, mahu. Okay, what's the halacha? A person made an egg upright and he wants to bow down to the egg. What's the halacha? Says kasal kadaitach nishtachavot la. So we're saying originally, what's the thought of the Gemara? We're thinking that what he's making it upright, nishtachavot la, to bow down to it. And he actually bound out it. Vikami baile, and he's still asking, the fact that he's putting it upright, is the putting it upright is going to be considered into an action. Aval lo zakaf la mitzara. But if he didn't put it up on its own, it's not going to be asur. So he said, look, if we put up the egg and then he bows down to the egg, that's when it's going to be asur. But what happens if he didn't touch the egg and he just bows down to it like that? It should be mutar, right? This is exactly the case of the mountain. Why? Because the mountain, if the stone fell off of the mountain by itself, then what? Then he says that it's going to be mutar. The same way that if you didn't touch the egg, why? Because the egg, since it came out of the chicken like this, it wasn't touched by a person. It wasn't touched by a hand, right? So we say that, oh, look, it wasn't touched by hand. It should be mutar. The same thing would apply by the mountain. That if it wasn't touched, it should be mutar. Says the Gemara, no. And then this is going to show that this is the opinion of the sons of Rabbi Chizkiah was the son of Rabbi Chizkiah. It said it's going to be mutar. He's going to be the one that says mutar. Says the Gemara, lo leolam emalach. I can always tell you, bnei Rabbi Chizkiah the asiri. It really, the sons of Rabbi Chizkiah say it's asur. Dishtachavala afagav de lo zakva asura. Why? Because if he bows down to it, even though if he doesn't pick it up, it's going to be asur. V'hacha b'mayaskinan. What's the case over here talking about? Kegon Avodat kochavim shel Israel asura miyad asura. Okay, that the avodat kochavim of a Jew is going to become asur right away. Okay, meaning as long as he prepared it, as long as the Jew prepared it for avodah zarah, that's when it's going to be already be asur. So the fact that he just picked it up to worship it, even without worshiping it, is going to cause it to be asur. Says the Gemara, Ileman de Amar de Sheteaved Halo Palcha. According to the opinion that says that it only becomes asur until it's actually worshipped, he didn't worship it. La tzricha kegon sheishtachavar shezakav betzal ishtachavot la v'lo ishtachava la. So says the Gemara, you're right. Yeah, it's talking about a case where he picked avodah zarah, he picked up the egg, he made the egg upright to bow down to it, but he didn't actually bow down to it. Uva oved kochavim v'ishtachava la, and then a non-Jew came and then was mishtachavet to it. Ki hada amar Rabbi Yehuda amar Shmuel. Like Rabbi Yehuda amar Shmuel said, Yisrael shezakaf levena lishtachavot la. If a Jew made a brick upright and to bow down to it, uva oved kochavim ishtachava la, and then the non-Jew came and then actually bowed down to it, asura, it now turns the brick asur. Okay. V'kami baile levenahu deminkira zekifta, aval betza lo, odilma lo shana teku. So he says, that's the halacha by a brick. The halacha by a brick is, if the Jew put it upright, right? It was lying down. He made it stand straight up, and then to worship it. And then a non-Jew came and worshipped it. Over there, we said it's asur. So he said, what about the case? So this should be similar to the case of the egg, where if he picks up the egg, and then he bows down to it, it should be asur. And then a non-Jew bows down to it, it should be asur. Says the Gemara, but maybe there's a difference. Why? Because levena, a brick, when you pick it up, I have something like this. Right? I change it to this. It made a serious from sideways. I picked it up to all the way upright. From lying down on its width, I picked it up to its height. So I made a serious change in it. Right? Now it's a lot bigger. It's bigger than it was originally. So that's why we can understand, the picking it up maybe can be machshir to become avodah zarah. But by an egg, there's barely any difference whatever side you put it on. So maybe it should make no difference. Says the Gemara, you're right. We don't have an answer for that. Okay. Says the Gemara, Ba'i Rami Bar Chava. Rami Bar Chava asked the question: Hamishtachave lehar avana mahu lemizbeach. If a person bows down to a mountain, can the stones of this mountain be used for the mizbeach? Okay. Yesh nevad b'mechumar etzel gavoa. Or en bimchubar etzel gavoa. Can we say that we know that if something was worshipped, we're not allowed to bring it as a korban afterwards, right? But does this rule apply also to something that was attached to the earth or no? So says the Gemara, if you're going to say yesh nevad bimchubar etzel gavoa, that there is a concept of being attached, something being attached and still and worshipped for avodah zarah. That's going to be that it can be that it can be used as a korban afterwards. Machshire kekorban damu, olo. Okay, the preparations for the korban, can they be? Is it going to be similar or not? Okay. Amar Rava says, Kal v'chomer. We have a Kal v'chomer. Uma etnan shemutar betalush lehedyot. Asur bimchubar legavoa. דכתיב לא תביא אתנן זונה ומחיר כלב. לא שנה תלוש, לא שנה במחובר. נאבד שאסור בתלוש להדיוט. אין עוד דין שאסור במחובר לגבוה. He says like this. We know there's a halakha that says that you cannot bring the wage of a zona, of a prostitute, okay? You cannot bring it you cannot bring it to the Bet HaMikdash. Meaning, if she received an animal as a payment, this animal can never be used as a korban. The same thing for the sale of a dog. No. Why? No, we're saying that he was with a zonah, a person was with a zonah, and he paid her with a sheep. So this sheep, you're never going to be allowed to bring to the Mizbeach. No, so that's for sure no. This for sure no. This the pasuk says very clearly. The pasuk also says mechil kelev, that the price of a dog you're not allowed to bring to the Mizbeach either. Meaning, if you change the dog with a sheep, you cannot bring the sheep to the Mizbeach. Okay? Now, when the pasuk describes this, it sounds like that what? No matter how it was, no matter what the matter was, if it was mechubal, if it was tarush, if it was attached or not, it's going to be asul to bring. Now, this, says the Gemara, look at, if it's, what's it called again? Bitalush, if it was not attached, it's going to be mutar for the hedyot. Okay, it's going to be mutar for a regular person to benefit, but it's going to be asul when it's attached for gavoa. Okay. Ne'evad, says the Gemara, but what about something that was worshipped? She'asul betalush le'idiot. If it was a detached, it's going to be asul for a regular person. En odin she'asul b'mchuba, so for sure it's going to be asul to the gavoa, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Meaning to say that right now he's trying to bring me a kal v'chomer, that if a person worshipped something betalush, if a certain person worshipped something b'mchuba while it was still attached, it would be asul to use it as a korban afterwards. Amarle Rav Huna berei de Rav Yeshua le Rava. So Rav Huna berei de Rav Yeshua says maybe it's the opposite. O chiluf, maybe it's the opposite. Why are you saying a kal v'chomer to make it asul? Maybe you should say a kal v'chomer to make it allowed. What? Uma ne'evad she'asur betalush. Something that was worshipped, that is asul, that when it was detached. It's a hedyot mutar, but by a hedyot it's going to be mutar bimchubar ligavoa. Shneimar. Sorry, it's a hidyot. Mutar b'mchubar legavoa. It's something that was asul by betalush. It's gonna be by behidyot. It's gonna be mutar by a mechubar for Kadosh Baruch Hu. Shneimar Elohehem ale harim velo harim Elohehem lo shna lehidyot lo shna legavoa. Etnan shemutar betalush lehidyot. Eno din shemutar b'mchubar legavoa. Isn't it the kal v'chomer that should be allowed when it's attached to Hashem? Says the Gemara, the mishum bet Elohecha mi ba'elei. Okay, if you're going to tell me now that what, that the pasuk says bet Hashem Elokecha, you have to bring it to the house of Hashem your God. Lecheditanya, and now what's taught in the Braita? Bet Hashem Elokecha. What does bet Hashem Elokecha mean? Mi ba'elei. Slicha prat lepara she'ena ba'a lebayit. Okay, it's coming to exclude the para aduma, which does not come into the Bet HaMikdash. The para aduma we know that the sacrifice, everything of the sacrifice was done outside of the Bet HaMikdash. So he says that when it says Bet Hashem Lokecha, only something that is coming in to the house of Hashem, that's going to be asur. But something that doesn't come into the house of Hashem, which is the Para Aduma, maybe this should be mutar. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer, this is the words of Rabbi Eliezer. V'chachamim omrim, and the Chachamim says, lerabot et harikuim. It's coming to say, what's Bet Hashem Lokecha coming to include? The plates of gold that they used to use to decorate the Bet HaMikdash. Okay, so Amarle Rav. So Rava says, Ana ka'amina lechumra, ve'at amart lekula, kula vechumra, lechumra parchinan. If we have the option of making the same kal vachomer, either for kula or either for leniency or lechumra for to be strict, we have to do it strictly. Okay, so says Rava, I did the chumrah. I made the kal vachomer lechumrah that it should be that the stones that come off of the mountain that was worshipped should be asur. You did it to the kula. The halacha says that it should be lekula. Okay. Amar le Rav Papa le Rava. So Rav Papa said to Rava, v'chol heicha de'ika kula v'chumrah. Every place that you have the kal vachomer, it can be either the kula or the chumrah. Lekula lo parchinan. We do not use the kula, right? Veha haza'ah de Pesach. What about when it comes to the sprinkling of the Korban Pesach? Okay, meaning if a person is tameh, and the day of his tahara is the day of Pesach. Okay, no, the day of Pesach, meaning that he's able to be tahor for Pesach. But the problem is that what? We need to do haza'ah on him. We need to do the sprinkling on him. Now, if this comes out to be on Shabbat, can we do it to him on Shabbat or no? So he says like this. The pligi ba Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva argue. The Rabbi Eliezer savar lechumra. Rabbi Eliezer says it's going to be the chumrah. And he's going to say that the person is obligated to do the Korban Pesach. Rabbi Akiva lekula upata. Rabbi Akiva says it's going to be the kula and it's going to be allowed. He's going to be patur from bringing it. V'kaparich Rabbi Akiva lekula, and Rabbi Akiva used a kula, used the kal vachomer lekula. Okay, Ditnan Heshiv Rabbi Akiva, as it's taught. Rabbi Akiva said, Chiluf or Chiluf. It should be that what? It should be the opposite. Uma haza'ah shehi mishum shvut, the sprinkling of the ashes of the paraduma, which is only asul mishum de Rabbanan. Eno doche Shabbat, which normally doesn't push away Shabbat. Shechita, slaughtering, this is the Korban Pesach. Shehi doraita, which is doraita. You're not allowed to do shechita on Shabbat. Lo kol sheken, is it not for sure that it should not push away the Shabbat? Okay. Hatam, says the Gemara, Rabbi Eliezer Gemara, the Ve'aiker le Talmuda, says the Gemara over there. What did Rabbi Akiva bring the kal vachomer for? Because it's Rabbi Eliezer that originally taught the halacha, and then he forgot his own halacha that he taught. Ve'ata Rabbi Akiva liad kure, and then Rabbi Akiva came along and taught him his own kal vachomer. V'hainu da'amar le, and this is what he told him. Rabbi, my teacher, al tafricheni b'shat adin. Do not try to brush me off with this halacha. Kach mikubal ani mimcha. This is what I was taught from you. Haza'ah shvut ve'ena docha et Shabbat. And the sprinkling of the blood is only a shvut, and yet it does not take off the Shabbat. Okay, so the real reason that he brought the kal vachomer, he says, was not because this is a kal vachomer and the kula of the kal vachomer can take off the chumrah of the kal vachomer. Rather, he just brought him a kal vachomer to teach him his own halacha back that he taught. Okay, not that he actually was serious about this kal vachomer, and therefore we're remaining with that every time that there's a kula and a chumra in a kal vachomer, we're going to go with the chumra of the kal vachomer and not the kula, and therefore Rava, which says it's going to be asul, is he stays with his halacha. Mai Rami bar Chama. Rami bar Chama asks a question. Hamishtachave lekamat chitim mahu limnachot. If a person bows down to a stalks of wheat, can we bring this as a korban mincha? Yes, shinui b'ne'evad or en shinui b'ne'evad. Do we say that there was a change with that which was worshipped and then it should be allowed, or no? Because afterwards it's cut down and it turned into flour, so maybe it should be allowed or not. Ama Marzutra berei de Rav Nachman. Marzutra said in the name of Rav Nachman, Tashema, come in here. Kol asurim legabe mizbeach. Any animal that is going to be asur for the mizbeach, valdotehen mutarim. Their babies are going to be mutar for the mizbeach. Vitani ala, and it was taught on this. Rabbi Eliezer posel oser, and Rabbi Eliezer says it's going to be asur. Says the Gemara, wait a second. Velavit marala, wasn't it taught on it? Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav bar Avua. Machloket k'shenirbe'u ulbasof ibru. The machloket was only if the animals Hashem Yishmo were slept with, okay, and then afterwards they became asul. Meaning, in that case, that's when Rabbi Eliezer says it's asul. Okay, aval ibru ulbasof nirbe'u divrei hakol asurin. But if they became asul to begin with, and then if they had a baby to begin with, they were pregnant to begin with, and then they became asul because someone was with this animal. So then, in that case, everyone says it's going to be asul. So then we're going to see Bezrat Hashem in the coming daf what's going to be the halacha for this. Meaning, is the change of the animal going to be okay or not? Amen ve'amen. Be'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach, we are Mishnah Yomi Zvachim, Mishnah Perek Vav, Mishnah Zayin. Says the Mishnah, Chatat ha'of shemelaka. If there was a chatat, the sacrifice of the chatat, that he did the milika, he did the slaughtering of the bird, right? Shelo lishma, not lishma. Mitzvah mitzadama. Mitzadama shelo lishma, or if he was squeezing out the blood, shelo lishma, or lishma v'shelo lishma, or he did one of them lishma, the other one lishma, or shelo lishma, or he did one of them lo lishma, and again lishma, psula. The halacha for this, it's going to be pasul. Olata of keshera, the ola of the bird is keshera, uvilvad shelo alta lebealim, but it's not going to count for the owners, meaning the person that brought the bird, it's not going to count for him as a korban, but the korban itself is going to be considered like a korban. Echad chatat ha'of ve'echad olat ha'of. Whether it's a chatat, a fowl that is brought as a chatat, or a ola, shemalakan umitzad daman le'echol, devar shedarko le'echol, and he did the milika, he did the special shechita, or he squeezed the blood, it's on something that is normally eaten, okay? To eat something, he did it with the kavanah to eat something that is normally eaten. Le'aktir davar shedarko le'aktir, or to burn on the mizbeach something that is normally burnt. Chutz nimkomo pasul. If it's going to be outside of the place, pasul. Okay, or if his intention was to eat the bird outside of its place, it's pasul. Ve'en bo karet. There is no karet for this. Chutz lizmano. If he had intention to eat it outside of the proper time, pigul. It's going to be considered pigul. V'chayavim alav karet, and a person is going to be chaz b'shalom chayav karet for something like this. Uvilvad sheikrav hamatir kimitzvato, but then he still has to burn the rest of it or offer the rest of it like the proper halacha. Ketzad, how is it so? Karav hamatir mitzvato. Okay, a person is in what manner is the permitter offered as required? Okay, malak bishtika umitzadam chutz lizmano. If he did the milika in silence, okay, without any intention, and then he squeezed out the blood, okay, with the intention of eating it or burning it past its time. Or shemalak chutz lizmano, or if he did the minikah with the intention of burning it past its time, umitza adam bishtika, and he did the squeezing out of the blood without any improper intention. Or shemalak umitza adam chutz lizmano, or he did the minikah and the squeezing out of the blood with the intention of doing it outside of its time, okay, of eating it or burning the korban out of its time. Ze shekarav hamatir kemitzvato. In this case, the permitter has been offered as required, okay, since because over here he did it, he did it in the proper way. But in what case is it considered that he didn't do it in the proper way? Malak chutz limkomo umitzah hadam chutz lizmano. If he did the minikah outside of the proper, with the intention of eating it outside of the proper place, or he did the and then he had the mitzat adam and he squeezed the blood, okay, with the intention of eating it past its time. Or if he squeezed the blood outside of the proper, with the intention of doing it outside of the proper time. And then he did the minikah with the intention of burning it outside of its place. Or if he did with the intention of both the minikah and the mitzah adam outside of the proper place, this is going to be asur. Chatat ha'of shemelaka shelo lishma, if he did the chatat, the bird chatat, that he did the minikah shelo lishma without the good kavanah, umitzadama chutz lizmano, and he did the squeezing of the blood outside of the proper time, or shemelaka chutz lizmana, or he did the minikah with the intention of doing it outside of the proper time, eating outside of the proper time, umitzadama shelo lishma, and he did the squeezing of the blood shelo lishma, or shemelaka umitzadama shelo lishma, and he did the minikah and the squeezing of the blood. This is considered that the person didn't bring it like the proper way. New case. If he had intention to eat kazait outside of the proper place, v'kazait, and to eat a kazait the next day, kazait lemachal v'kazait b'chutz, or vice versa, kachatzi zait bachutz v'chatzi zait lemachal, or he had the intention to eat a half of a zait outside of the proper place and a chatzi zait outside of the proper or the proper time, which is going to be tomorrow. Kachatzi zait lemachal v'kachatzi zait bachutz, or if vice versa. Pasul ve'en bo karet, it's going to be pasul and no karet. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, ze aklar. This is the rule. Im machshevet hazman kadma lemachshevet hamakom pigur. If the intention of eating it outside of the proper time was before the machshava of eating it outside of the proper place, it's going to be pigul v'chayevim alav karet, and it's going to be chayev karet. V'im machshevet hamakom kadma lemachshevet hazman. But if the thought of eating it outside of the proper place was before the machshava of eating it outside of the proper zman, pasul ve'en bo karet. There's not going to be karet. The Chachamim say, ze veze pasul ve'en bo karet. Both of them are pasul and there's no karet. Le'echol kachatzi zait ulaktir kachatzi zait kasher. If a person had a kavanah to eat a chatzi zait and to burn a chatzi zait, it's going to be kasher. She'en achila ve'aktara mitzarfin, because we don't say that the achila and the aktara are joined together. Perek Zayin, Mishnah Aleph. Chatat ha'of she'asa'a lemata. If a kohen did the sacrifice of a bird below the line of the mizbeach, okay, k'maaseh chatat l'shem chatat, he did it like in the manner of a chatat. For a chatat, keshera, it's going to be kasher. Kimaaseh chatat l'shem od, but if he did it like the way of a chatat for the sake of a olah, kimaaseh olah l'shem chatat, or he did the way that you do a olah for a chatat, kimaaseh olah l'shem olah, or he did kimaaseh olah like the way of a olah for an olah, pesula, it's going to be pasul. Asa'a lema'ala kimaaseh kulam pesula, but if he did it above the string, above the red line, and if for either way he's gonna want to do it, this is gonna make it pasul. Baruch Adonai leolam. Amen ve'amen.